Good evening. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Everything is crooked. Let's see if I can straighten that out. It looks like my tripod is leaning a little bit. That's a little better. How's everybody doing today? On this wonderful Sunday evening, I do want to check and make sure that on my channel that we are live. So welcome. Welcome to my live stream Sunday. Someone asked me earlier, I don't know if it was a couple days ago, whenever I had my last live stream, they said, Mark, when do you do live streams? And I really do not schedule the live streams. So what I did this week is I sent it out on the community. And doesn't everything look really brewerish? We have blue here. Hey, Russell. We got the gold here. Got the Brewers here. That's because the Brewers are playing to... Wait, I take that back. Major League Baseball has been canceled pretty much, hasn't it? Oh, well. That's a little bit about what we are actually going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the effects, both short-term and long-term, specifically the effects of this whole lockdown on rideshare. So one of the things that you may be noticing behind me is I put a new quotation up. And that is going to stay up as long as this lockdown is in place. It says, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And that came from a great mind, none other than Benjamin Franklin. And I think it's very apropos in today's world. I know a lot of you are going to disagree, but we are giving up essential liberty in order to purchase a little temporary safety. We're being told where we can go. It's basically, in some places, it's almost like martial law, how far we can travel, what businesses we can go to, what businesses we can't go to. Now, I'm not saying, please understand, that it's completely without cause. What I'm saying is, let's be careful. Let's be careful, because remember the last time this happened? I do. Some of you probably might not even be old enough, but it was after 9/11. Anyone remember the Patriot Act? Now, it's been 19 years. But, you know, there's a whole generation of Americans that grew up not knowing there was actually a time when the government couldn't listen in on our conversations. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. That's just, if people are wondering, why do you have that up there? So what we're going to talk about today is the effect that coronavirus is having on rideshare. And coronavirus kicks younger car buyers into gear as thoughts on ride sharing sours. So if you remember, one of the big pushes or the big goals that Dara, I almost didn't get that one, that Dara Khosrowshahi said they wanted to do is they wanted to, I don't know if they said it in so many words, but they did say their goal was to eliminate private car ownership. Remember that? And now all it took was this pandemic. And, you know, I mean, that's a pretty big motivator. But what they're finding out is more young people who at one time were completely happy and content to use rideshare now feel, you know, rideshare might be a little too much of a risk. So I'm going to read the story. It comes from CNET. A new study shows those who've never owned a car are changing their mind to minimize health associated with public transportation and ride sharing. Health risk, I'm sorry. They're not eliminating health. They're eliminating the risks related to health. Younger generations have historically been slightly less inclined to purchase a car and take part in vehicle ownership than older generations. I don't know if that's always been true. That's a pretty broad statement. I think that's only been true of this generation. Certainly my generation, we couldn't wait to buy our first car. And I think that's the way it's almost always been. But this generation is different because they have this thing called rideshare. Public transportation and the advent of ride sharing helped shape their thoughts, but it appears the coronavirus pandemic is starting to make the age group have second thoughts. I just think that this is so interesting. According to a new study from Capgemini, I'm not sure exactly what that is, that looked at populations in major countries around the world. So it's not just the US, this is worldwide. Those under the age of 35 are now seriously considering buying a car. The shift in thinking comes as they correlate health and safety risks associated with shared transportation, like Uber, Lyft, or even a local bus network. A whopping 75% of those surveyed said buying their own car will give them greater control over hygiene. That is hard to deny, isn't it? You have a car, you know how to keep it clean. You can be absolutely in charge of keeping that vehicle clean, managing the hygiene, who gets in, who doesn't. When you get in rideshare or taxis or a public bus, you don't know. Or at least you're not in control of it. Diving into the numbers, I don't want to get too much into numbers, but I'll give you an idea. 79% of those aged 25 to 35 have historically not owned a vehicle, but 45% of those under age 35 are now interested in owning one. For some US specific data, I skipped over a lot here, 45% of those under 35 are now interested in buying a car compared to 34% of all ages in the US. So they are skewing much higher. Younger people are skewing much higher for wanting to buy a vehicle. And all of this, they are assuming that it's due to coronavirus. While old data showed that young buyers still preferred the dealership experience, the latest study shows 49% of potential car buyers under 35 are keen to avoid dealerships. Yeah, so they go online and they try to find their best deal. I think, isn't that true of everybody? Isn't that something car dealers sort of have? And I don't know, it might be, legitimate, but they have a bad rap. It's uncomfortable. They feel pressure. The guy always wants to get up and say, let me talk to my manager, and he walks and he leaves you sitting there sweating bullets for 5 or 10 minutes. And he comes back and he says, we can offer you this deal today. Why? I mean, why? Isn't that car going to be there tomorrow or the day after or the day after that? Unless someone buys it. I've never really understood that whole thing. We can offer you this deal today. And they'll always give you a reason because they, it has something to do with inventory. Did I just start? No, I started at 6 and I went on a little tirade about essential rights and half the people left. They probably thought it was going to be a coronavirus tirade, and it's not. We're talking about car ownership. It is triggered by coronavirus, however. They thought it was going to be a political discussion. It wasn't a political discussion. It was just an observation. So I think that that's interesting. Now, what I wonder is how many of those people are going to maintain this? Because, oftentimes when you are in the midst of a crisis, emotions are high and, like I remember at the last election, and, people were saying, friends of mine were saying things like, well, if Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. And I said, well, no, you won't. And they said, oh, yes, I will. And they're still here. Because I guess I always look at things more rationally. I try not to get too emotionally charged about these things. Whether you're on the left or on the right, I don't care. Don't leave my country just because you have different beliefs than the next guy. But anyway, I think people do get charged. And, people might now be saying, I don't want to buy a car because I'm afraid that I'm going to get this terrible disease. And I think once things calm down and they learn how to manage it, and maybe they get a vaccine in a year or so, cooler heads will prevail, and maybe they'll go right back to rideshare. What do you guys think? Do you think these people that are saying they're not going to buy a car now are going to continue that line of thought 3 months, 6 months, a year? Buying a car is a big decision. For most people, unless you buy a house, buying a car is the biggest purchase you'll ever make. Um, Jay just made an interesting observation. The bigger issue is they won't have a job to make the payments. Maybe, maybe not. Again, I don't want to get too political about this, but yeah, a lot of jobs and businesses are on the line right now. I hope Russell comes back. I think I offended him by giving a. I don't know how Benjamin Franklin could offend anybody. Really, I just read a Benjamin Franklin quote. Um, I had 3 cars at once at 21 years. Oh man, by the time I was 21, what did I have? My first car was a 1965 Mustang. Then I bounced along. I had a lot of Mustangs. My brother and I probably at one time had 4, 5, 6 Mustangs. Some of them were better than others. And then I got a 1967 Cutlass. And then the next car I bought was a 57 Chevy. And I had that vehicle until I was 21. So yeah, kind of the same thing. I didn't have 3 cars at once at 21. I had 3 cars at once at 17. So, yeah, I think that's interesting because that is, or it might affect us and the way that rideshare plays out. I think that's interesting. How's the weather by everybody today? It was a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. It was in the upper 50s, maybe even the lower 60s. I took the bike out for the first, not a pedal bike, my Harley. Took it out for the first time this season. That old girl fired right up. I just had to give a little more air into the tires and off we went. I went to a park not too far from my house and that place was jammed. I pulled in. It doesn't have a lot of activities and stuff, this park. It's hiking trails and that sort of thing. And rained all day in Ohio. And I got there and the lot was full and they had people standing there, and I pulled over and I said, is there an event here today? And they said, no, just really busy day. People are like chomping at the bit to get out and do something. I think it's a combination of it finally getting to be the first nice spring days and being, cooped up because of the virus and all of that is all at once. People just say, let's get out and walk. And they're pretty good at the park. They have a sign up that says, respect distance and all that. But they're letting people walk the trails, which I think is awesome. I thought my first car was a horse and buggy, Stanley Steamer. That's what we had. All right. You caught me. You caught me. Now I was a teenager at least after 1965, right? So anyway. All right, what we're going to do now is I thought it would be fun. I know I did. I don't want to get, a disease isn't political, right? It's just a disease. It's an illness. So 298 degrees Kelvin and cloudy in Denver today. Denver is an interesting place. I like Denver. I really like Colorado Springs, where they have that, is it called Garden of the Gods down there? I just love that. It's so pretty. We're going to have a little quiz here, okay? And this is all you have to do. You can jump in. I want everybody to jump in. We'll have some fun with this one. And I'm going to read you a fact. And this is off of a site called livescience.com. I didn't say I like Denver. I said I like the Denver area. I'm going to read you some statements, and I want you all to put down fact or myth. Okay, I want you to write that down in the comment area. Okay, so this is all related to COVID-19. Okay, here's the first one. Face masks can protect you from the virus. Fact or myth? Face masks can protect you from the virus. Okay, come on, let's get some answers going here. Ding, 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 there's our time. That is a myth. That is a myth. Standard surgical masks cannot protect you from COVID-19 as they are not designed to block out viral particulates, and they do not lay flush to the face. However, so this could be a gray area. it can sort of protect you in that if you're wearing it and you sneeze or cough, it's less likely to get on someone. However, it does reiterate here, they have to be worn properly. They have to be disposed of and replaced after every use. Most people don't wear them properly. They do other things like touch them. They say the coronavirus can enter through your eyes and a lot of different things. So that's probably leaning towards myth. All right. You are way less likely to get this than the flu. You are way less likely to get this than the flu. Fact or myth? Fact or myth? You're way less likely to get this than the flu. That is fact, false. That is a myth. This is far more easily transferred, and I'm just giving you the facts from this. That's far more easily transferred from person to person than the flu. However, again, the jury's still kind of out because we learn something new every single day, right? But for every time that they find more and more people have it, what that really means is the death rate is going down lower and lower. I heard a weird one the other day. Okay, tell me this. I'm just going to add this one. This is not part of this one. The death rate from COVID-19 continues to rise. Fact or myth? The death rate of COVID-19 continues to rise. Fact or myth? Anybody? Okay, think about that one. That is really a trick question because a death rate has to rise. It can never go down. It's not like some of the people that died are going to come to life. The death rate is always going to rise. So that's a trick question, okay? The number of people dying may have slowed down. I don't know. I don't have the stats, or may have increased. But you cannot have a death rate go down. It's always going to go up by nature of the fact that the people are dead. All right, here's the next one. This virus is just a mutated form of the common cold. The virus is just a mutated form of the common cold. Fact or myth? You're right, Jay. The death rate goes up, but it can slow down. But that's not the way I stated it. I stated it as a trick question. Okay, virus is just a mutated form of the common cold. Okay, no, it's not. Coronavirus is a large family of viruses that includes many different diseases, which Jay just kind of said. All 5 viruses have spiky projections on their surfaces, and it goes on and talks about the details of it, which I don't want to get into. But it is not a mutated version of the common cold. All right. Okay, this is a politically charged one, this next one. This is kind of a fun one. The virus was probably made in a lab. This virus was probably made in a lab. Fact or myth? Or you could say true or false, I guess. It was probably made in a lab. George, we're having a fun little quiz. If you can consider talking about coronavirus fun. I insulted a bunch of people way at the beginning and they ran away. Half the room left. No evidence suggests that the virus is man-made. Okay, there's a lot of supposition. There's a lot of jockeying to say, hey, maybe this happened, but that's all it is. It says here there is no evidence. Evidence is tough. Evidence is it's tough to prove, isn't it? But so far that's a myth. Oh, here's a big one. This is what we used to hear. Now, a lot of you are too young to remember this, but I remember when AIDS was first rearing its ugly head, and they used to say this about AIDS as well. Getting COVID-19 is a death sentence. Getting COVID-19 is a death sentence. True or false? True or false? Getting COVID-19 is a death sentence. False, myth, false. As of this little quiz here, it's not really a quiz, I'm turning it into a quiz. Only 2.3% of people who get the disease die from the disease. So that's what they're saying here, only about 2.3%. Now that number might be higher in some areas, but right now. Oh, here's one that's been in the news. This is an interesting one. Let's hear what you think about this one. Fact or myth? Pets can spread the new coronavirus. I know only, that's, and I didn't mean to be that dismissive to say only. That's every one of those 2.3% is a human being. So I didn't mean to sound cavalier about that. Pets can spread the new coronavirus. Fact, myth, fact. What they're learning here is, see now, this one is we're going back and forth on. I like this. You're right, George. They are still studying it. It looks like pets can carry it, but there has been no proof or evidence they passed it on to human beings. So several dogs and cats tested positive for similar virus. But previous experiences with SARS suggest that cats and dogs will not become sick or transmit the virus to humans. Importantly, there was no evidence of viral transmission from pet dogs or cats to humans. So I'm saying, yeah, they might be able to get it, but we don't think they can pass it down. Okay, this one, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to read it anyways, because this is not that old, but I don't know how this one snuck in. Unless you eat your pet. Lockdowns or school closures won't happen in the U.S. Fact or myth? Oh, man. Bat guano, farmers in China go into caves to collect it. I don't even want to talk about bat guano. I hear about spelunkers talk about that. Oh, thank you, Ari. Ari, though, I should have probably about 40 people in the room, because really we lost about 13 people right away because they thought I was going to get political. I don't get political. I just made a comment, and I guess you could argue. So Ari's saying give the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Myth. Of course, lockdowns already happened. Here's another one that kids can't catch the coronavirus. Well, we know, it looks like kids are even more susceptible, but they are also more resilient and more resistant to falling really ill from it. So, hey, Roy, how you doing, my friend? Fact or myth? Fact or myth? Okay, the children one is obviously they can catch it. Fact or myth? If you have coronavirus, you'll know it. If you have coronavirus, you'll know it. Fact or myth? Oh, this one people are thinking about. They're studying. I'm not getting any really quick answers on this one. Myth, maybe, myth. Are you alive? It says here, no, you won't. COVID-19 causes a wide range of symptoms, many which appear to be other respiratory illnesses such as flu and the common cold. So unless you actually, this is live, Gordon, so you can participate. So unless you are actually tested, you may not know. You've heard me say on this channel before, I would kind of be surprised if I didn't already have it. Not because I had severe symptoms or anything, but because I traveled in the real high-risk areas. I've been in airports. I just have been out among so many people. My last trip before they shut down the world was to New York and LaGuardia Airport. And I don't know, I just kind of suspect, I would be more surprised if I didn't have it than if I did. Time may tell, if they ever come out, if I ever find a reason to really test, and if they come out with a quick, fast, easy, cheap enough test that's available to the general public, I'd like to do it just to find out. See, a lot of people are saying that. They $11 flights on Frontier. Well, I don't know, but then you have to pay $98 to get that glass of Coke. They have nothing, that is completely no frills. Coronavirus is less deadly than the flu. A lot of people have said that I have made that comment on here. I never did, but coronavirus is less deadly than the flu. What do you think? It says the annual flu has mortality rate of around 0.1%. And we already said that this is a 2.3%. So it seems like coronavirus is deadlier than the flu. But I think Jay just made an interesting point. It's by population, really. I'm not going to say geezers because I think that that's not a nice way to talk about Roy. But people in the upper age bracket, I'm sorry, Roy, I couldn't help it. People in the upper age bracket do tend to be more susceptible. People who already have compromised immune systems, that sort of thing. So I think it's a different group of population, but it is more deadly. Vitamin C supplements will stop you from catching COVID-19. You know, Roy, you're the only one I would say that to because I know that you wouldn't get mad about it. Vitamin C supplements stop you from catching COVID. No, as far as we know, nothing stops you from catching it except staying away from people, not getting coughed and sneezed on, washing your hands. Here is an interesting one because I heard this. It's not safe to receive a package from China. It's not safe to receive a package from China. Okay, the comment was, if you take vitamin C, it might boost your immune system. Yeah, okay, so maybe it'll help you fight it. I don't know if that's true or not. It's not safe to receive a package from China. I have heard that we got to be careful because they have those vacuum sealed bags. You pop them, you get air from China, air that might have COVID virus in it. People that have the virus touching things, then packing it up and sending it to us. This is an interesting one, isn't it? According to this study, it says it doesn't say there's no risk. It says there's a very low risk. It's likely there's a very low risk because during transportation they go through different temperature changes and that sort of thing. But even that, I'm wondering about because there's areas now in the tropics that are getting this, and they say, well, it doesn't do well in warm weather, but it's kind of doing well in warm weather. So I don't know. And this last one is so dumb. It's so dumb, I almost don't want to say it. They say black and brown people get infected more. Gordon, I don't know. You know, when this started 5 weeks ago, someone said to me on here, black people can't get this. You know, so I think we got to get race out of this. I think we got to get politics out of this. I think we got to realize this is a disease that hits humans. That's what I think we have to do. But this last one it's just so ridiculous. You can get the coronavirus if you eat at a Chinese restaurant in the U.S. Really? I am not even going to dignify that one with an answer. All right, this was kind of fun though, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. I liked it. All right, now what I am going to do is I'm going to go back and go over all your comments. One of the first comments came from Russell Birch. Have a good night. We're 2 minutes in. Have a good night because I read my quote. I'm sorry, Russell. I got into argument with Karen over the Constitution today. Needless to say, she's opposed to the Constitution. Who's Karen? The bigger issue is they won't have a job. Okay, we talked about that. I'm just reading things I didn't read. Back in February, the U.S. Attorney General stated there was no benefit for public wearing masks, and they're still saying that. Well, actually, not no benefit. They're not saying that. Gordon, I have lost weight since my heart attack. Not intentionally. Since my heart attack, I've been eating better, and I lost 6 pounds already. Can you believe that? Is it showing? So yeah, I have been. I've been really, really careful. I'm not noticing it anywhere. I just notice it on the scale. But I've been very, very careful. I've been reading a lot of labels. I have been Well, okay, Roy just, I'm going to back up a little bit because Roy just made a comment. He said it's true. You can catch it from eating at Chinese restaurants because you can catch it anywhere. You can catch it at McDonald's. You can catch it at the bar. So, Roy, I'm gonna give you a I'm gonna give you an applause here, a fanfare, because I think that that was a wonderful observation. You can get this virus anywhere. You can get it anywhere. So that was good. I love it when people think. I just love it when people think. Um, yeah, I had a heart attack 2 weeks ago yesterday. No, I guess Friday. 2 weeks ago Friday, I had a heart attack. And I was in the hospital and I got had a couple of stents put in the old ticker. And maybe one day I'll tell the whole story about what happened. But yeah, I had a heart attack. And so now I'm a label reader. And I'm buying and eating foods that have as little saturated fats as possible and as little cholesterol as possible. So you guys didn't know that? You got to get out in the world and tell the rideshare community if you want. No, don't. There's no need for that. But yeah, I had full blockage, full arterial blockage in one artery, and so they had to put in. They had to call the Roto-Rooter man and get up there and get that little thing. He was down there cranking like this as that thing moved through. So yeah. And so I'm just watching what I eat, and they put me on all kinds of meds now. I have to eat an aspirin every day, and then I got to take some pill to keep my body from rejecting the stent, and then I have to. What else do they have me on? Blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication. I don't want to be on medication the rest of my life, so I didn't have a stroke. I didn't have a stroke, George. I had a heart attack. There's a difference. I don't want to be on medication the rest of my life. So I'm going to cut back on all that cholesterol and everything, and I'm going to try to monitor that naturally so I don't have to take all that medication. So enough of that. That's boring talk. You guys don't want to hear about that. Okay. So the virus doesn't fly, doesn't walk, doesn't jump. Yeah, that's right. Someone has to sneeze on you, give it to you, or you got to touch something, rub your eyes, rub your mouth. You're absolutely right. So let's see. What else do we say? Question, what is the rate of disease and reaction to the U.S. population versus normal flu season? I have no idea. I'm just reading this stuff off a website. Okay. Maybe they're still studying. Question is, if they can spread it, how does the bat ordeal work? So maybe the lab. I don't know how the bat ordeal works. I wonder if I had it coughing plus weeks of headaches. Bald people are more susceptible, more exposed surface area. Except I don't touch too much stuff with my head. I don't go up to a doorknob and try to open it up with my head. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. What else? What else is going on? Those old people downhill hospital. I heard that you were in the hospital, my friend. I hope that's why I asked how you were. I didn't want to raise any issues here, but now that you brought it up, I hope you're doing better. What really was an eye opener for me when I went into the hospital. Here I have a heart attack. The first thing I do, I'm walking in. I drove myself to the hospital, and I walk in, and there they have a card table set up. A woman behind with a mask and everything, and I have a sign and thing. What's wrong? I told her my symptoms, and I said, I think I might be having a heart attack. Oh, okay. Well, you can walk over there and check in. So I walk over there and check in. Same thing, behind this big thing of glass with a mask on. Nobody. This place, you could shoot a cannon off of this hospital. I'm thinking, what about sick people? Shouldn't they be coming here? Oh, you can go down, sit down, and wait. I think, should I grab my chest like Homer Simpson and go and fall to the ground to get a little service? But it was weird. It was very, very strange. What were the symptoms that caused you to go to the hospital? The symptoms were my arm started feeling funny. And it wasn't my left arm, it was my right arm. Started feeling funny. And they kept asking, what does it feel like? What does it feel like? My arm's sore. And I couldn't describe it. But now, upon reflection, I know exactly what it felt like. It felt like when they give you a shot, like any kind of shot, and then, the next day your arm feels sore and heavy. That's exactly what it felt like. And I'm thinking, oh God, what's wrong? And I kept moving my arm and stretching it out and say, what in the world is wrong with my arm? And then it went away, it subsided a little bit, and then I laid down to go to bed. It was about 11:30, and I just didn't feel right. And suddenly I felt nauseous, and I started getting cold sweats, and I thought, yeah, something isn't right here. So my wife didn't drive me to the hospital, no. So I drove to the hospital, no ambulance. I drove to the hospital, and it is what it is. So, like I said, it wasn't fortunately. I mean, I caught it early. I reacted early. When it was all said and done, at first the docs told me as soon as I got out of, I don't know if you can call it surgery or not. It's not like they cracked me open. They go up in artery and they clean it out and somehow they put the stent in. And at first he said you got about 10% damage. And then I was in the hospital for 2 days and they were taking blood tests. And when it was all said and done, he says, really good. You only got about 4% heart damage. And I'll tell you what. So right now my heart's in better shape than my liver. So 96%, I'll take it. I'm not going to let that thing get any worse. The heart attack occurred at home. It was at home. I should have called an Uber. Oh, that's funny. That happened to me. Went to the ER, was told to take a seat and wait. It was my second heart attack. Isn't that crazy? Have you ever had a calcium scoring test? No, but I bet I'd score really high. I'm good at testing. Less alcohol equals better liver. Yeah, but they say having a drink or two is good for people with a heart attack. Older guys who have heart attacks, now I'm not an older guy yet, but they say they fare better when you have a cocktail or two. They don't quite understand it yet. Maybe it's a thinning in the blood. I don't know. But, despite what I like to convey on the channel, I'm not a real heavy drinker. I don't drink all that much. So the best score on the calcium scoring test is 0. No, I've never got a 0 on any test in my entire life. I always get 100. Sometimes I get bonus points and I get 104. That's what it is for my blood pressure. When I went in with my blood pressure, you guys aren't going to believe this. When I went in the hospital, my blood pressure was 240 over 120. My God. My head should have been exploding. Oh, God. So, yeah, it was something. I'll tell you what, it was an eye-opener. So, all right, enough about me. I don't think that my health is all that interesting. Now that you know everything about me, you're surprised that I'm alive. I'll tell you, my habits have changed, and they have changed drastically. Ever since I got home from the hospital, every single morning, my breakfast, except for 2 days, my breakfast have been a bowl of oatmeal with fresh fruit in it. And yesterday and today, I made egg white omelet. So that's what I've had with no cheese, just mushrooms. So that's what I've been having. I've been eating, for lunch or dinner, I usually have a vegetable patty hamburger on whole wheat bread with a little bit of salsa on it. No wonder I'm losing weight, huh? So, well, thanks, Gordon. I appreciate that. Did I see the big white light? Yes, it said motel. I said, no, I think the hospital is the next driveway. What is my PSA? I don't know. What is a PSA? Public service announcement? Hey, UT, welcome, my friend. How do I feel about North Korea? What makes you think I have any feelings at all about North Korea? I usually don't feel very good about countries that suppress their populace. I just don't like that. I think that should have been made clear by my opening statements. So no, I'm not real big on North Korea, but I think we have to draw a distinction between the country, the government, and the people. You know, I mean, the fact that people are under a regime that causes suppression doesn't mean that we should not like the people, right? Studies show you shouldn't eat fat with carbs. That's why ice cream and french fries are so bad for you. Oh, but they taste so good. I think I probably have my last french fry and my last dish of ice cream, sadly. You took too much vitamin V. Question for the room. How do you feel about Georgia opening up their businesses on Friday and more tomorrow? I've been hearing about that. I haven't seen how they do it. I wouldn't feel bad about it depending how they do it. I think, things need to open up. I've been hearing a lot of different strategies, allow people who maybe either test negative or test positive, having already had it, people under the age of 45, maintaining some kind of social distancing, those types of things. So I think as long as they open in a responsible manner, I think it's a good thing personally. We have to open at some time. And you can't wait until there is a cure or it's gone, because it's never going to be gone. The only disease that I know of that we are able to eradicate was smallpox. And even then, I think there's some of it living in a lab somewhere. So I think it's going to be a long time before we make it disappear. So I think we have to have some plan, right? Kim Jong-un is a cutie pie. I thought that he just was really sick. I pulled several restaurants, and many are waiting another week to open. Well, one in Milwaukee announced a week ago or 2 weeks ago, come May 4th, he's going to open up. He said he's going to open up, whether they lift the ban or not. So that will be interesting to see if they go in there, arrest him, or shut him down, or what. They open up barbershops, hair and nail things. I think done right, they should. I know some of them have their own little booths. Well, if it's just one person on one person, and most of those technicians wear masks anyway. I don't know. I think we have to let people make a living, right? We can't destroy everybody's livelihood. So I don't know if we are. Let's hope we're not heading for a Great Depression. Colorado opens partially tomorrow. We need to slow down the comments here. I don't want to stress this guy. I won't give him nothing. I'm fine, man. I'm healthy as a horse. Why not open up? What's so magical about April 30th? Our economy is dying. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I already chased out half of the room. I don't want to get too political here. You know what? I have this light. I know you guys don't know what's up there, but you can probably tell there's a sheen. I have a light, and it's sort of like my backlight. I don't have enough room to have a backlight, so that's what gives me a little bit of differentiation here from the background. So it makes my head look real bright. But I actually got a little bit of sunburn today. I was out on my bike, and the first time you forget to. Usually I'll wear something. A helmet. This is a guy that doesn't wear a seatbelt. You think I'm going to wear a helmet? Seatbelts are law. Helmets are not even law in Wisconsin. So, okay, yeah. So you're right. People are. Trader Benz, you care to share what you shared with me earlier today regarding people are getting unemployment finally? I did hear from Trader saying that he finally got his checks, which is great. 6 feet is great for social distancing. Why not 8 feet, 10 feet, 4 feet? Who came up with the magical number? I don't know. Maybe it's how much particulate can travel on the average sneeze or cough. So people are getting their $600. Well, what about that? I think the unemployment is different than the stimulus. I don't think I've seen any stimulus money. I don't think I've seen that yet. So the IRS app is finally working. I didn't even know they had an app. I hope you guys don't come here for expertise, because there are other rideshare channels that have far more expertise. This is a channel about sharing. And I've always said that from the very beginning. The day I call myself an expert is the day I shut down the channel. Um, there are people out there that are experts, and usually their expertise is proven wrong. You know, I think when you call yourself an expert, you're setting yourself up for a big fall off that mountain. Stimulus was sent out when you were in the hospital. Well, how come I didn't get my check yet? Got my stimulus Friday and Monday, $2,200 for back pay for unemployment. It's supposed to be direct deposit in my account. All right, trader. Thank you very much for sharing that. This channel is coffee shop conversation. I believe you're right about that. This is where we get to sit back and have a hot cup of Joe, right? Why? Because it's Joe time. I don't have my Joe today, though. I just have water, so that's why I didn't say that. Checks going out beginning of May. One rideshare tuber out west thinks he is a dictator, king, or god. Should I tell you something interesting about that? I shouldn't. I know people get mad when I do this, but it was so interesting because we were in the trip meeting and I watched the replay, and I don't even want to get embroiled in that trip thing because it's so petty. But they had the trip people on one side, and then Taham and I forget the other guy's name right now were watching this live. And this other Uber tuber was in there. And he came in and reported, oh, I just made a comment and they kicked me out of the room. And I thought, how interesting. That is the exact same thing he did to me. I made a comment about him on my channel and he blocked me from commenting. He can't block me from watching the channel. YouTube doesn't allow that. But he blocked me from commenting on his channel. And he's a guy that's doing the same thing that he's criticizing Trip from. He collected money from people for a startup rideshare company. Where is it? So I just thought that was the epitome of irony to find him in that room reporting that, and a little bit of hypocrisy. But trader, drop a super chat from your stimulus money or a glass of bourbon. You know, I have never been one to, I've never really fully appreciated bourbon, but I will tell you when I went, and you guys can watch it on my other channel, a few months ago, I did a video on, I went to visit, oh, what the heck, come on, help me out there in Lynchburg, Tennessee, the sipping whiskey. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank here. Oh boy, I'll tell you, it's tough to get old. So anyway, I went to Lynchburg, Tennessee to that Jack Daniels plant. That was a Jack Daniels. Oh, now people come up with it. Yeah, I went Jack, and they did tell you how to taste it. And it was really interesting. First you smell it, and then you smell it with your mouth open a little bit so it goes over, and then you shouldn't just toss it back. That you should sip slowly, and it passes over all the tongue after it's first introduced to it through the no, Jack ain't bourbon. It's not bourbon, and they explained why. It was quite. I'm not going to get into a whole dissertation about bourbon and whiskey, but my point is they did teach you how to drink it and how to taste it. It would be the same thing with bourbon. You know, if you want to, if you want to become an aficionado. But Lynchburg, Tennessee. But it's quite interesting. I have never really been one to drink shots. I guess I don't have that much of an appreciation. I always like to mix stuff together. So if that makes me a bad person, so be it. Jack and cola. Well, now my drink I think is going to have to be rum and diet. You know, I got to get rid of those. Well, actually, most drinks don't have really saturated fats or cholesterol. So drinking's not bad, but I want to get those calories out of there too, right? Losing a little weight wouldn't hurt. To the room, do you think rideshare business will increase this summer as many will not want to ride buses or dirty taxis? Interesting. The beer on the shelf, you mean right there? Is that the beer you're talking about? Name the beer on the shelf. Love the butterscotch and vanilla notes in good bourbon. Is that what, real deal, you're going to have to give me a yay or a nay? Are you talking about this one right here? Okay. That is not beer at all. That is Route 66 root beer. And I'll tell you the story behind that. You see my Gemini Giant there. The Gemini Giant is a muffler man. And the muffler men, if you watch my other channel, you know I kind of am obsessed with them. And You know, they're 25 feet tall. They're made of fiberglass or from the early 60s. And this one is very iconic. It's called the Gemini Giant because it was put up and built during the early NASA Gemini program. And so he's got a space helmet on, and he's called the Gemini Giant. And he's holding a rocket. I don't know if you can tell in there, but he's holding a rocket. And the place, the launching pad is the name of the restaurant that has a Gemini Giant in front of it. It was out of business for a long time. And the guy that bought it is really putting his heart and soul. It's certainly a labor of love because I don't think he's made a lot of money. But I went and I visited, I did a story, I chatted with him, and I bought a Gemini Giant, and he gave me that root beer on the house. He said, you got to try this root beer, and it's Route 66 root beer. And so that's why I have that. Everything here, I've said that before, everything behind me has something to do with one of my journeys or one of my trips. So there's one thing I like in Wisconsin's Point beer. Well, it's two things. You like me, don't you? How are young people moving away from rideshare? George, studies are showing that people that have not before considered car ownership are now looking towards car ownership because they've been moved by coronavirus. That's it in a nutshell. There's a little more to it, but that's it in a nutshell. Mark, I think some analysts think Disney will not reopen until 2021. Hope they reopen sooner as I need their guest traffic for my Uber income. I would be shocked if they don't open till 2021. As you know, I had my, I already missed my, matter of fact, should I be there right now? I think I should be at Disney right now. So I had to cancel that. I moved my plans into September. I think they'll be open by then. Route 66 is a great way to connect East Coast and West Coast. What is the next great transportation project that'll change the game? I hope it's private ownership of self-driving cars. They could speed that sucker up tremendously by having dedicated lanes. Because if they had dedicated lanes, you know, with the concrete barriers, 4-foot concrete barrier like they have in some places for the, when you have dedicated lanes that you pay to use. And just make those the rideshare lanes. That way people will not be passing people. Right? You could almost put a off-the-lot Toyota on one of those and it would drive itself. Because they sense when they're getting close to something. They sense when they will pull back if they're coming up. So you get the steering and you have the, I want to call it autopilot, but that's not the cruise control. Those are about the only two things you need if you're in a dedicated lane. So that's what I would do if I was in charge of transportation. To heck with all this trying to figure out how to maneuver around city streets. Let's open up self-driving vehicles for long transport. And let's get that working first. I think that would make a lot of sense. So that would be what I would do if I was in charge. Do you watch Adam the Woo? Adam bugs me sometimes. I hate the way he mangles. I do watch him, but I hate the way he mangles the English language. The other day, he was making coffee. He said, I'm going to procure some of this cream into my cup. What? He always uses these he's obviously not an educated man. He's an interesting guy. But when he mangles the language, and I wish he would just use simpler words and, he wouldn't come off as being so goofy. And also, his stuff really drags out. He'll sit on there for 6 minutes eating an orange. And I can't believe that 200,000 people watch a grown man eat an orange. It's crazy. Uber Eats keeps as it is. I may not take another passenger ever. Jay, I'm with you. Mickey Mouse is on it. I don't know if Mickey's on a ventilator, but it sure seems like his company is. I wonder if we'll see a double bottom in the stock market. I don't even know what that term means. I'll be glad to pick up in September. I'll be glad to get picked up. I haven't got picked up in a long time. Just made my first $2,000 week. Awesome, George. Oh man, you get a congratulations for that. Wait, that's not a congratulations. What would be a congratulatory thing here? Nah. What's congratulatory? How about a fanfare? There you go. George, that is for your $2,000 week. Now you can go down and watch the channel of that guy down in Chicago. Doesn't he have his little $2,000 a week club? Be glad to pick you up in September. I'll be glad to get picked up. Semi-trailers will be the first to go driverless. Well, I hope they still have drivers, but I think it'll take a lot of the road fatigue off of the shoulders of those drivers. At this point, NASA does not want the plug to come for May 27th launch of the astronauts in SpaceX. Who is that? Adam the Wool. He's a guy, he's a big YouTuber. He's probably got 250,000 subs. He became famous because he used to do urban exploring. He got lifetime bans from Disney World and Universal Studios. So take away from that what you will. He does a lot of visits and travel, kind of stuff similar to that I do on my other channel, only he's successful at it. Did you see the updated videos that Dark Road Run did? No, I don't watch a lot. I'm really sorry to say that because a lot of them support me. A lot of other UberTubers support me, and I just don't watch a lot of their channel. I just don't have the time. I think we'll be 90% of the way normal by September. I hope you're right. Some people say you'll never get back to normal. After 9/11, we never got back to normal. You know, they say don't let the terrorists win. Well, I think every time that they open up my bag and you know, take my shoes off at the airport, I think the terrorists won. So I don't know that we ever get back to normal. Do you like to party? Can I sit up front? Thumbs up on this video. Thank you, Ari. I'm home by midnight. Much fewer miles with Uber Eats. Agreed. I recently read that with self-driving cars will eliminate both Uber and Lyft as vehicles will all take... See, that's my whole thing. I've made that point before. Who says that self-driving cars have to be owned by rideshare companies? I don't understand that. Why do they have to be owned by rideshare companies? Do you think that Detroit's going to want to put up for that? To only let Uber and Lyft buy their cars? No, they're going to want everybody to buy their cars. I want a self-driving car. Rideshare driverless, too many risks. Sounds like Ronnie Wu from the Cubs. I don't know anybody from the Cubs. I try to pretend that Chicago doesn't exist. Disney management came out and said they may begin taking the temperature again. If you know what, I'm a season pass holder, not a season pass, an annual pass holder. So I'm going to get in the park regardless. But if they take my temperature, I'm not going. That is too much of an infringement of my rights. I know I'm sounding like a radical here, like I have my own little posse or something. But some things, you know, if you give up a little bit of, what does it say there? A little bit of I'm gonna read it right. I want to read it right. Okay. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither. So there you go. All right. So I don't like it. I don't like that. And I know that's not the government taking it from us, but I don't like it. I know you live in Chicago, Ari. Like I said, you can like the people without liking the place, right? Although I love the art museum there. I'll tell you, for a city like Chicago to actually have that much culture, it amazes me. It's two extremes. You know, you got the Bears guys, and then you got that museum. I could spend a week wandering around that place. If they would serve me food and give me a bed, that art museum is beyond belief. Grand Rapids, Michigan, they have automated vehicles that run routes in town. They drive themselves, but there's a person there to oversee. Thing is, data is showing that not many people have fevers. Well, there's another thing. What does it really tell you, right? What's the new normal now? Future's uncertain. I really don't know. Science and industry. I'm not talking about Museum of Science and Industry. I'm talking about the Art Institute. The Art Institute is what I'm talking about. When I was a kid, the only thing I remember about the Museum of Science and Industry was they have a big heart that you could walk. For some reason, with all the stuff they have at that museum, the one thing I remember is they had a giant heart that you could walk through. You deliver in the city, I can see it being a nightmare. I'm in the burbs, so much. But yeah, sometimes the city is a pain to deliver food. Well, now it's all, they give us the choice to make it contactless, right? Are you doing contactless delivery, where you leave it at the doorstep and quick hightail it away? Oh, I love that. How could you hate the artist? That's beautiful. They have so many world famous paintings there. I can just you know you don't get me going about that art institute, because I have such a deep appreciation for art. And that Van Gogh, Van Gogh with the ear cut. I can stare at that and study that painting. It's just a tiny little painting, but I can study that for hours. Oh my God, love it. See, the problem with contactless, I want that filthy lucre. I want the tip, and that's what you get when you get face to face. Yeah, I guess when you're a kid, I get it. Drones flying around taking temperatures. I hear big cities are going to widen the crosswalks so everyone can keep their distance. Good luck in Manhattan. Well, you know what? It has come up to an hour, my friends, and I still haven't had dinner, and it's 7:30 here, 7:33. So I think we're going to draw this one to a close. So, as always, I want to thank you. I apologize to those of you who I offended at the beginning of this hour. I hope you come back to me. But as always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please click my face to subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell icon. That way you'll know when I post new videos. Thank you so much for spending part of your Sunday with me. I'm Mark, and this is Mark's Travel Time.